name is David Rowland. I'm the brewer and owner of SoMe Brewing Company in York, Maine, and we're standing in our tasting room. You know, I think even just before we brewed our first beer, when we were planning all this out, I didn't want to just offer a couple beers because not everybody likes what I like. And I think there's a lot out there to try, and we didn't want to start with just like 3 or 4 beers. So we went into this with the idea that we'll at least have six lines, and we'll add more if it gets to that point. And ultimately, we ended up actually starting with 4 beers just because of a number of different events that happened. But we got 6 now. We're going to try to keep that for as long as we can. And the first beer we brewed was ended up being a double IPA called Box the Compass. I had brand new equipment, only had estimates on what my efficiencies for the equipment was, so I inputted into my brewing software, and instead of having about a 6.5% IPA, I ended up with about 9.9%, almost a 10% double IPA, just because of my equipment was a lot more efficient than I had estimated, which, again, good problem to have. But I ended up with beer that I probably wouldn't have normally brewed, and I was told by a lot of brewers friends that, listen, there's going to be some trial and error. So we just went at it, and as soon as we brewed that first beer, I figured out the system. So that's Box the Compass, and probably going to be a regular beer. Maybe not all the time, but certainly we'll rotate in and out. It's got a lot of really good responses, and I love it. So I'll eventually have to come back and try to brew that original IPA. But and the next beer we brewed was Whoopie Pie Stout. Again, credit to my wife. She likes big sweet stouts, but doesn't like sometimes she can only have one. She wanted something more approachable where she could have a few and want a few more instead of having one and being like, all right, that was too much. So that was a beer that by design, it's about 6.5%. It's a lot more approachable. It's a milk stout aged on cocoa nibs and vanilla beans to emulate that classic Maine dessert. And again, credit to my wife. She wanted it, so she came up with the idea first, and I sort of designed the beer around what she was looking for and what I thought other people were looking for, and sort of, I guess, almost as a gateway beer as well. I think there's a lot of people that come in here and they're like, well, I don't like dark beer, and to me, that's like saying I don't like a book because the cover was red. That doesn't make sense. So it's meant to be approachable as well. There's a lot of people that come in here and I say, just trust me, try it, and they end up loving it and walking home with some. So another beer we have that will be a staple, that is probably our best-selling beer and a lot of people are asking for, is called Crystal Persuasion. It's an Imperial Pale Ale, which was interesting to begin with. But it's completely 100% crystal hops throughout the entire beer. But it doesn't have the bitterness that like an Imperial IPA would have. It's a very round beer, but it's got a very unique flavor profile and aroma profile from crystal hops, which are a very unique hop that doesn't usually get showcased by itself. That beer will absolutely be a year-round beer. It's just gotten rave reviews, and we'll keep brewing it if people keep buying it. So we also did a holiday beer because we opened on December 14th. So I did a holiday blonde as an answer to everyone else doing these crazy, dark, crazy spiced Christmas beers. I said I'm going to make a very easy, sessionable Christmas beer that's lightly spiced, a little sweet, and you can have more than one of them instead of having one and falling over because it's some crazy at 12% Christmas beer. But then we have York Gold, which just came on 2 weekends ago, which is a session rye beer. It's a golden rye, 5.5%, and actually 5.25%. And we also have an experimental black IPA on right now. I only brewed a half barrel of it just to see what people think. It's called Destroyer. It's a bitter bomb, and people seem to like it. We may end up brewing it again. We'll see how the rest of the half barrel goes. People seem to like it so far. And we've got a lot of other beers planned. I'm a hop head, and I love big hoppy beers, but I also like nice, well-balanced, subtly hopped beers as well. And so you'll see a lot of hoppy beers, as well as some Belgians and some other twists on traditional styles. I'm itching to do my first Pilsner here, which will be cool. A little bit of an investment, but I'm willing to do it. I think people will like it. So I say I'm definitely a self-described hop head, but you know, I find myself often seeking out something more traditional, just to keep things in focus, just to not get too far left or right in the spectrum of beers. And as a brewer, I enjoy the challenge of brewing beers that aren't necessarily for me, and it focuses me to you know, continue to hone my craft and make a beer that is true to style, and or that I know other people will appreciate. And you know, I may not drink it, you know, as a session beer all the time, but people are going to come in and say, man, they nailed it, you know. And like we had said earlier, you know, I don't want people to come in here and go, well, they make good beer, but I don't always like what they have, because all they do is, you know, IPAs, or all they do is, you know, English style beers. You know, I want them to come in. I want something for everybody, because at the end of the day, not everyone likes what I like. So it would be silly to just make what I like. I don't know how long I'd be around if. Although one could argue that if all I made was IPAs, we'd probably still do all right, because IPAs have taken off like crazy.